Hello, and welcome to Complexity Leadership for Practitioners. This section is looking at leadership modes and will be split across two presentations. The first one is focused on different leadership modes and the way they need to be balanced to be effective. Before we get into the detail, let's take a look at the big picture. When leading in a complex environment, leadership can be divided into 5 modes. You can see them listed here. We have direction, strategic administration, adaptive leadership, enabling leadership, and tactical administration. Each has a purpose and uses different mindset and methods. Every team member needs an amount of each type of leadership. These are modes of leadership, not personality types or leadership styles. They also are not the type of decision being made or the type of scenario that you're in, but they are the context for your decision making. Each of these modes has a different job to do. Direction gives an overall context to what's going on within the organization. It answers questions about the big picture and the overall direction of travel. Strategic administration is the leadership which creates and maintains the business processes, both formally written and implemented by convention. Adaptive leadership is a response to sudden change in the environment or the need for transformational change in the organization. Enabling leadership nurtures collaboration and teamwork. It gets the best from individuals and is interested in small blockers and hurdles which the team experience. Tactical administration is the local planning and resource management needed for a specific project or task. Now let's take a closer look at direction. Direction is generated by leaders who create the global strategic vision. Leaders who turn that vision into local strategy and tactics. They do this as a broadcast. It might be slightly tailored to the audience, and it evolves slowly with changes in the environment. The context of direction is business administration. It's business-wide and it's long-term. In a balanced situation, direction gives context, enables priority calls, planning and decision making, gives a sense of purpose and destination, and it makes everything more efficient through cohesion. What happens when there's too much? By too much, I mean chaotic, churn, changes in direction. Well, initially, you're wasting time. Plans keep changing mid-execution. People are going to start to feel frustrated. It feels like there's a lack of senior leadership team control. There may be some areas of the business that still work okay. Patchy problems. As the direction becomes chaotic, there's a real sense of chaos. Everything becomes highly inefficient. Engagement goes right down. People stop trusting the senior leadership team. There's a lack of cohesion. But what if there's not enough? If it's a little bit lacking, there's going to be areas of uncertainty. Some decisions have become arbitrary, may contradict each other. Strategic vision becomes patchy. It's inefficient. Things conflict. And a complete lack of direction means local decisions are arbitrary because there's no longer a context to inform those decisions. Again, low faith in the senior leadership team. Their primary purpose is direction, and there is no direction. So there's no sense of purpose. And there's a lack of interdepartmental cohesion. Let's take a look now at strategic administration. Strategic administration is done by any leader who can champion the work being done and who understands stakeholders and objectives. It's mediated in a safe space, not owned by anyone. Documented processes are normally the output, policies, procedures, and other written material. But it's all about stakeholder engagement. There'll normally be an enterprise toolset that reflects some of the more complicated functions of the business across the business. There'll be associated training, probably regular and well organized. Again, like direction, strategic administration is part of business administration. It's business-wide, it's long-term, and pretty much it applies to everyone. When it's balanced, it enables all day-to-day activities to be executed efficiently, facilitates governance and monitoring, delivers legislative compliance. But what happens when there's too much? So it keeps changing. Well, initially, time is wasted with updates and training. Processes don't get a chance to mature. And there's actually a lack of faith in processes. It's no good having a process if you don't even get to execute it before it changes again. If this becomes too chaotic, the whole purpose of having processes becomes pointless. They're in a constant state of revision and debate, so they're never really active. Changes can't be followed by the team, and trying to follow an audit trail is very, very messy. But when there's not enough activity in this area, efficiency is lost. Repetitive actions need to be constantly reinvented and discussed because they're just not written down. You get local pools of knowledge, experts that understand a good way to do things that people need to go and ask. And when there really isn't any of this leadership going on, there's no audit trail. There's no evidence of compliance, even when it's important. Leaders that leave take their knowledge with them, nothing written down. And there's a sense of chaos. Overall, it feels very unprofessional. People expect a business to have documented processes. Now let's take a look at adaptive leadership. Who does it? Well, adaptive leadership is responding to a sudden event or facilitating a change. so it can be done by anyone with the right authority and understanding to facilitate and drive the agile response. Normally, adaptive leadership is done in war room style meetings. Ad hoc teams gather together to analyse, fix, replan and recover the position. There may be stakeholders, and the agile adaptive leader talks to those stakeholders and gets their buy-in for the changes that are going on. The context of adaptive leadership is globally applicable. It's unique in that it spans both business administration and delivery. It can be used by anyone in any situation that needs it, as long as the resulting leadership is effective. When it's balanced, adaptive leadership delivers agility. It can recover a situation into a controlled state. It may facilitate change in the business or adapt to a new thinking or an environment. When adaptive leadership becomes too common, it's normally a sign of insufficient planning and control, which is to say that it's a sign that other leadership is not happening. This lack of other leadership is forcing agile responses which could be avoided. This is a higher stress situation than is necessary. Taken to an extreme, where everyone is fighting fires regularly, maybe the problems are being allowed to happen. The leaders are looking for hero rewards, rushing in and saving the day when a fire breaks out. This is a very high stress strategy. But where there's not enough adaptive leadership, there's not even a response to the unplanned, uncontrollable elements. And so there's a slow response to emergent events. It's really difficult to deliver improvements or transformation too. There's a reluctance to engage with change. Essentially, there's a denial of change, regardless of the implications of that denial. Leaders in that kind of denial tend to carry on with standard processes and trying to use them to handle new situations, which is completely ineffective. At an extreme level, there's zero agility. Now, enabling leadership. Who does it? Okay, line managers or team leads, mentors. Anyone who is close to the team, understands them, and is trying to help them optimize what they're doing to get through to the goal. It's one-to-one personal discussions, making sure the right people are communicating. There's empathy and there's listening. The context of enabling leadership is delivery. It's a team environment. The team is trying to achieve something, and the enabling leader is trying to make sure that everything is set up for optimum delivery. When it's balanced, you're getting the best from individuals. You're making sure the right people are assigned to each task, and you're responding to local blockers as they arrive. You're probably learning the traits of every team member, and you're anticipating problems before they happen. When there's too much of it, the team maybe gets confused by conflicting messages. Maybe they have multiple people trying to do enabling leadership simultaneously. Or maybe someone's constantly asking them how they're doing and how are they solving the problems. They begin to feel a lack of empowerment. The oversight becomes oppressive. At a real extreme, it's now micromanagement. Time is lost in unnecessary reviews and discussions. The team feel frustrated. They're not getting enough time to actually do the work before they're being asked to report on it. When there's not enough, the team's just left for long periods to stray from the optimal path. Communication is reduced and engagement is reduced. If enabling leadership is completely absent, there's a real lack of engagement and team cohesion. This is especially difficult for more junior members who feel lost or confused. Efficiency becomes very low and frustrations becomes very high. Now, tactical administration. Who does it? Well, project managers, planners, just managers generally perhaps, the resource owner, the budget holder, essentially anyone who's put in charge of a team's financial performance. They generate plans and budgets, checklists and deliverable lists. They write the minutes maybe, or certainly they make sure the minutes are written, that records are taken and progress can be monitored. The context of tactical administration is delivery. Again, it's a team environment, working hand in hand with enabling leadership. When it's balanced, it ensures that the right budget and resource is available, creates a plan to deliver the objectives, and manages change and manages risk. Too much activity here. Maybe the plans are changing too often. Time's lost in replanning and discussion. After time, there becomes a lack of confidence in any of the long-term predictions. When it becomes too chaotic, the idea of the plan is just fallen into disrepute. People are going to start ignoring a plan that gets revised every other day. Bureaucracy levels begin to stifle productivity. Micromanagement ensues. Stress levels increase. Normally, this kind of chaotic behavior is as a result to a lack of control. When there's not enough, the plan loses track of reality. The budget starts to lose control. You get overspend, you get overcommitment. Deliveries begin to slip. If you don't know where you are with spending and the use of time, it's very easy to think that everything's okay. And if it's seriously absent, there's a real lack of control, causing overspend and late or no delivery. No delivery is an option, and it's one that can be achieved by a complete lack of tactical administration. Inaccurate reporting is an inevitable outcome where this is lacking. It's a very high risk, and there will be no change control. So, to summarize, leadership is not simply communicating what you want to the team, or doing something that could be said to fit into these 5 categories. The leadership within the network needs to be balanced and delivered with an understanding of cause and effect. It's about creating an environment where success can flourish. Each team member needs an amount of each mode of leadership to be successful. That's the end of this section of part 2. Hopefully you can join me for the second part. I'll see you then.